Next is encoded instructions. God provides the best explanation for the digital DNA code and information contained in controlling the functions of all life on Earth. The alternative theory is that the complex code, such as binary code running computers, can pop into existence without any kind of programming, programmer, testing, or debugging process.
Digital code is binary, ones and zeros, whereas nucleotides come in 4 types in DNA. That said, base pairs are AT or GC, so I sort of see the comparison. However, it remains true that digital code is non-heritable, mutations do not arise on it, errors would likely prevent function and are actively discouraged, and there are no environmental pressures. This is why this style of watchmaker argument fails. It's simply an awful analogue for life. So life, biology, what kind of mechanism can account for genetics? Oh, I know, evolution. Let's run with this rather transparent analogy. We need analogues to programming, programmer, and debugging/testing. While the analogue for the programming is the original genetic code, we can use mutations as the programmer, and testing/debugging is environmental pressures. So we have a programmer, mutations, adjusting the programming, DNA, which is then debugged, environmental selection. Thus we see that analogues of each thing claimed to be missing, in fact, exist.
Next we have irreducible complexity. God provides the best explanation for fully functioning biological organisms, systems, and subsystems that couldn't come about through gradual evolutionary process without totally ceasing to exist at lower evolutionary levels. The alternative theory is that biological systems took huge, unseen leaps from simple to complex without any guided process or forward-looking instruction.
I guess I'm missing something here, but if you'll forgive a bear of little brain, I have no idea what is meant by
for fully functioning biological organisms, systems, and subsystems that couldn't come about through gradual evolutionary process without totally ceasing to exist at lower evolutionary levels.
I'm guessing it's irreducible complexity in that such systems cannot arise from prior structures. As it stands, however, no structure has ever been shown to be irreducibly complex. Moreover, this is nothing more than an argument from incredulity. As for no mechanism existing to guide biological systems and the inevitable mutations that arise as a result of imperfect replication, guidance is inevitable where there are selectionary pressures and competition between individuals for resources. This is the guidance.
Next we have duality. God provides the best explanation for the separate human functions of the brain and conscience, matter and mind. The alternative theory is monism, where only matter exists, and the human brain only appears to have a separate subconscious ability.
But the mind and brain have never been shown to be separate entities, and in fact there's ample evidence for the null hypothesis that the mind is an emergent product of the brain. For example, people's morality can be skewed by magnetic fields or trauma to the brain. Even stroke victims can suffer personality shifts. All this and more points to this constant that runs through humans as being the result of brain function. Again, this is where the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis come in. An extraordinary claim is being made about the mind by claiming it's immaterial, and so this must be substantiated by evidence. As before, if this fails to happen, the null wins out. The final comment here is a little baffling. I think that it's got something to do with free will. Well, it's been argued that in fact free will is an illusion. A bloody good illusion by all accounts, but an illusion nonetheless. However, what is offered by certain Christians as free will endowed upon us by the Abrahamic God is not free will. Link to a video explaining why in the description.
And finally we have morality. God provides the best explanation for the existence of inherent objective, moral, and ethical values throughout the world. The alternative theory is that the unguided materialistic processes evolve higher human consciousness, and somehow the natural evolution of society has brought forth these shared internal emotions.
Again with unguided, it's a sort of rhetoric really. chance, unguided, random, that puts up a straw man of the other side's position to ridicule. The simple fact is that it's called natural selection for a very good reason. It's selectionary. It produces pressures that act upon a non-homogeneous population, pressures which will inevitably favour some traits and select against others. It's not unguided. No, there's no hand, there's no end goal, but it's not unguided. The motions of the molecules in a river are random, unguided as it were, but nobody would argue that the flow of the river is therefore unguided. On morality, we are a societal creature, so a shared viewpoint on many aspects of the world would be advantageous, otherwise infighting would tear a society apart. It's not so much of an issue now when society is a monstrous construct with at least thousands of individuals, if not millions, but homogeneity in views is pretty much a necessity in small bands numbering hundreds of individuals at most, where a loss of members would be bad news. Morality results from altruism. We have the capacity, like many other animals, to care for others. Because we care about others, we don't usually harm them. Because we care about others, we don't usually steal from them. These are not absolute morals. The world is not black and white, but to suggest that morality is somehow inexplicable in evolutionary terms is laughable.
So, are you the type of person to choose the best explanation available? Or are you the type of person to go with some misguided alternative theory, all in the name of denying a creator?
I always like to choose the explanation that is supported by the evidence. That's why in various situations where I'm ill-educated in the issues or complexities, or there is a lack of evidence for any hypothesis, I'm not in the least bit embarrassed to say, I don't know, and withhold judgment awaiting further evidence.
You see, one thing is I can live with doubt and uncertainty and not knowing. I think it's much more interesting to live not knowing than to have answers which might be wrong.
I'm not going to choose a non-explanation that is unsupported by evidence and claim it to be the best explanation. Chad may feel comfortable with this intellectual cop-out, but I don't.
I'm the type of person that wants to go with the best explanation possible.
I am Chad, but I don't think that means what you think it means because, from what I've seen, you don't accept the best explanations available, and that's somewhat saddening. Goodbye everyone. Thanks for watching.
I have approximate answers and possible beliefs and different degrees of certainty about different things, but I'm not absolutely sure of anything. And then many things I don't know anything about, such as whether it means anything to ask, why we're here, and what the question might mean. I might think about it a little bit. If I can't figure it out, then I go to something else. But I don't have to know an answer. I don't feel frightened by not knowing things, by being lost in the mysterious universe without having any purpose, which is the way it really is as far as I can tell, possibly. It doesn't frighten me.